Hey, Who family. This is the House of Who. This is the Holy Tablets class discussion. Brother Chris Love. And we're going to start it off with the Holy Tablets. We're on page 139. We've been reading for a minute, family, and we come across actually the chapter 2. We covered the chapter 1, creation, and now we're in chapter 2, which is the slaves, El Jarutat. In the Wapik, the slaves, chapter 2. And we're on page 139, and we're going to get Brother Nam to open us up with the affirmation. Who?
Anuki Fergun, Shukalu Wakalu Fergun, Anuki Wahid Kakalu Wakalu Wahid Man. Aikilu, Anji, Kama Fergun, Shukalu, Hub Kama Feridu, Aikilu, Ahwenu, Udik Luka Fizi Kalu, Kama Tabu Kama Kafazi Kalu, Emi Pikalu, Anuki Kaba Hawahu, Kalu Nanuki, Kalu Yakuru Keki, Kalu Bamu Happy. Begin our prayers, thinkies, and deeds with true divine love and all. I am in love of all love is me. We are all in love. I am a part of all, and all is a part of me. I am one with all, and all is one with me. I could succeed as a part of all and fail as an individual. I can be all I wish and all as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is I am. All can I can. All does I do. Cool.
Hey, Who family. This is the Holy Tablet class discussion. Brother Chris Love. We're on actually page 139, chapter 2, the slave. We covered chapter 1, the creation already. And we come across the words of one of our great teachers, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, from 1879 to 1973 or 75, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's death is still considered somewhat of a mystery. Well, the master teacher broke it down in the book, Sheikh Dawood, that the messenger actually passed in 73, and it was his brother John Muhammad that kept it going to 75. So we say 1879 to 1973 for the messenger being on the planet. And we know about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know what I'm saying, being the teacher of the lost and found tribe of Shabazz, and he came out of Sandersville, Georgia, out of the United States of America. So that's the pretext on page 139 as we go into the section of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And on page 139, it breaks down what he stated that his mission was, right? And it's good because the master teacher also breaks down some of the other teachers, like the Noble Drew Ali, Deuce Ali, Sheikh Dawood, and now he gets to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And let's see what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says about his mission on page 139 as the brother's pulling it up. And just like to welcome the family back. It's good to be back. And on page 139, the words of one of our great teachers, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said, "My mission is to give life to the dead. What I teach brings them out of death into life. My mission as the messenger is to bring the truth to the world before the world is destroyed." When asked who is the mystery God, he answered, "There is not a mystery God. The Son of Man has searched for that mystery God for trillions of years, but was unable to find a mystery God, so they have agreed that only God is the Son of Man." All right, so they lost no time searching for that which does not exist. So basically, the messenger, pause right here, family. The messenger is breaking down as you read on. When he says the mystery of God, the Son of Man has searched for the mystery of God for trillions of years. And man, that's bearing witness to, the doctrine of right knowledge. Like we go back 76 trillion years ago. So the messenger knew what he was talking about, before it was time. Right. Then he goes on to say that, we've been able to find a mystery God, so they have agreed that only one God is the Son of Man. So basically, if they couldn't find a God, they fabricated one. This is what he's talking about with, modern religion. So let's read on. When asked, what is the manner of civilization, he answered, one having knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, culture, refinement, and is not a savage, which is, quote unquote, the pursuit of happiness. Right? Pause right there. Notice that the messenger said, not a savage. The word savage has become modern lingo in a lot of trap rap. It's being notarized as being cool to be a savage, which means you're at the forefront. You do what you want, right? But that's a doctrine that's taught to us, right? Being a savage and doing what you want. That's actually the doctrine of Aleister Crowley. Do as thy will, and you will see a lot of these hip hop artists rocking their shirts. Do as thy will, because they're in support of that. That doctrine by Aleister Crowley is just basically a representation of the Satanic Church. So let's read on. This is page 139. When asked, what is the duty of a civilized person? He answered, to teach the uncivilized people who are savage, civilization, righteousness, the knowledge of himself, the science of everything in life, love, peace, and happiness. When asked, what is the prescribed law of Islam? Said a person of that ability, right? He answered that the civilized person is responsible for the uncivilized, and that he must be punished by the nation of Islam, quote unquote. So let's break that down when he's talking about the civilized and the uncivilized, because we know that those who came out of the caves and the mountains were uncivilized. This is what he's referring to. And they were educated by us. They were taught by us, right? This goes into what he later, went into detail and talked about Yaqub's quote unquote grafted devil or made man. And that's in our doctrine of right knowledge, how the scientist Yaqub grafted a certain human being out of the Hindus that came down from Nirvana, right? So that's written in our doctrine. So the messenger is actually lining up with the master teacher later revealed in detail, right? So let's read on. When asked, what is the prescribed law of Islam? He said a person of the ability. He answered that civilized person has responsible for the uncivilized, and that he must be punished by the nation of Islam. When asked, to make a devil, what must you do first? He answered, to make a devil, one must begin grafting from the original man, quote unquote. So that goes back, once again, family, pause right here. That goes back to that Yaqub's grafted devil concept that's written later on in the Holy Tablets and broken down by many of the scrolls from the master teacher over the years, right? Let's read on. When asked, what is the real devil? He answered, a grafted man, which is made weak and wicked, or any grafted living germ from the original is a devil. So, quote unquote, pause right here. That would be a clone. That would be a hybrid. When we talk about food, we talk about clone food that they're making right now. We talk about hybrid food. It's not the original. It's a duplicate or a replica or something that's been, grafted from the original. So when asked, why did God make the devil? He answered, to show forth his power, that he is all wise and righteous, that he can make a devil which is weak and wicked and give the devil the power to rule the earth for 6,000 years and then destroy the devil in one day without falling victim to the devil's civilization, right? Otherwise, to show and prove that Allah, notice he uses Allah, which is Illah, which is Elo, right, is the God, always has been, always will be. When asked, what will be your reward in regards to the destruction of the devil? He answered, peace and happiness. I will give all that I have and all within my power to see this day for which I have waited for 379 years, right? And the quote unquote pause right here. That's the messenger referring to the amount of time at that time. I think this was in the 50s or the 40s or the 50s when he was given this information. And he's talking about the 379 years of the institutionalized chattel slavery, that we were put in as far as, being indigenous and being Moors, and some of us being brought over here from the motherland. We were put in bondage for that amount of time during that timeline from his perspective, 379 years, right? So let's read on. When asked, who was the original man? He answered, the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization and God of the universe, quote unquote. Now pause right there. As a young man, on a personal note, I remember these classes. Now, as a kid, I think 13, 14 years old, I remember being in class, learning this information, right? When he said the Asiatic black man, the caveat to my situation is I already read right knowledge. I just couldn't find anybody, here where I was at the time. So I went to the nation and started building with the brothers, about 12 or 13. When they got to the original man being the Asiatic black man, I kind of already knew based on the doctrine that I was reading with right knowledge that was referring to the Hindus, right? the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization. But it's a double entendre right here, family. It's really referring to us in essence, but at that time, the messenger wanted to include how we migrated over, not just, to the Middle East, but we migrated all over from everywhere, including Asia, right? Because he knew that the Garden of Eden originally was in Bali, right, that they were referring to. He knew about the Hindus coming down and all that, but he wanted to make a distinction. After they came down and raped and mixed with us, we migrated over somewhere else. So when asked who was the original man, he answered, the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe. That's referring to us, our DNA, the Melanites. But he had to make an distinction later on with passing his torch on to the master teacher to break it down to who the Cushites were and who we are as the Melanites, and how the rape actually took place with the Nephilim coming down. Right? So let's read on. We're on page 139, family. This is the Slaves, chapter 2 of the Holy Tablets, right? So when asked who is the colored man, right, he answered the colored man is the Caucasian, quote unquote, the white man, or Yaku's grafted devil, the skunk of the planet Earth. This is the messenger breaking this down. Back in the 40s and the 50s, family. When asked what is the birth record of the Nation of Islam, he answered, the Nation of Islam has no birth record. It has no beginning nor ending. All right, pause right there. He's referring to the original Nation of Islam because he knew that Islam meant peace. It wasn't what the Arabs was trying to make it to be. And that's why a lot of Arabs at the time were shunning the messengers, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They considered his Islam not real Islam, right? Even though his Islam was yielding more results than their Islam, because it was transforming people's lives from the street life or from poverty into being independent, into being pure and clean minded and thinking and acting and business owners. So the messenger knew what he was talking about, right? When asked what is the birth record, right, we read on from 139, turning over to 140, right? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? Teacher of the lost and found tribe of Shabazz. That's Malcolm X teacher. That's Farrakhan's teacher. That's a lot of us as teacher, right? That's even the man that our master teacher gets referenced to as one of the greatest black men in North America. You know what I'm saying? To him, to us. So let's read on. This is page 141. I'm going to read this page and then I might call it a volunteer a little bit later, family. But we're going in. This is the Slaves, chapter 2 of the Holy Tablets, page 141, right? So other than Islam, he answered, Buddhism is 35,000 years old. Christianity is 550 years old. He taught of his teacher, right? His teacher, my name is W.F. Muhammad. I came to North America by myself. My uncle was brought here by a trader 379 years ago. Pause right there. This is him giving an account of some parables and some wisdom that one of his mentors, W.F. Muhammad, right? Wali Farad Muhammad. Notice how he says W.F. Muhammad, which is Wali Farad Muhammad, right? Which is another whole story. But basically, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and W.F. Muhammad were both up under Noble Drew Ali or studying with Noble Drew Ali back in the day. Right? And W.F. Muhammad came from Palestine, right? I think it was Palestine or Saudi Arabia. I got to go back and read the book Sheikh Dawood by the master teacher that was written back in the late 90s. But Wali Farad Muhammad was the one who influenced Elijah Muhammad about a lot of information that he went on and took off and set up the Nation of Islam with, right? So let's read on. It says, I came to North America by myself. My uncle was brought here by a trader 379 years ago. My uncle cannot talk his own language. He does not know that he is my uncle. He likes the devil because the devil gave him nothing. What does he like? Why does he like the devil? Because the devil put fear in him when he was a little boy. Why does he fear now? Why does he fear now since he is a big man? Because the devil taught him to eat the wrong foods. Does that have anything to do with the above question? No. 10. Question. Yes, sir. That makes other than himself. What is his own self? His own self is a righteous man, a righteous Muslim. Are there other Muslims other than righteous? I beg your pardon. I've never heard of one. How many Muslim souls are in North America? Approximately 3 million. Pause right here, family. As we read on with this dialogue, with this allegory that Elijah Muhammad is given from the impression of W.F. Muhammad, right? I remember these lessons in the Nation of Islam, this allegory, right, that the messenger would give to students. And in retrospect, is giving you information that Master Farad Muhammad taught Elijah Muhammad, that you guys were 379 years into slavery. He said, my uncle, which is us, the Nubian man that was in America, even though that Master Farad Muhammad was an Arab from either Arabia or Palestine, right? He considered the original man his uncle, right? Because he know they originally everyone came out of us, right? So he was referring to, the original man as his uncle, which is us over here in North America, the Nubians who were enslaved, and some of the indigenous that were enslaved. It says basically he likes the devil because the devil gave him nothing, and that's really a reality check. The devil really gives us nothing other than, what we value, this money, so-called status, which are just constructs that he puts out there. All right, so then it says, why does he like the devil? Because the devil put fear in him, right? That's pause right there. There was just another police shooting, just weeks ago in Memphis, and then before that, there's always a police shooting of some innocent original person, more, Cushite that we see that they propagate through TV, and that's really to put fear in people. They blast that like they do to put fear in us, right? So he's breaking that down even in that context right there. Because the devil taught him how to eat the wrong foods. Why does he fear it? He's a big man. Like, why do we still fear the devil? You see gangs and MCs and rappers all the time talk about, they fearless and they this and they that, or, but when they come down to it, they ain't never going up against the powers that control this situation or appear to control the situation, right? So basically he was saying, who is himself? He said he's a righteous Muslim. Muslim means one who is at peace. So this being a righteous person at peace is our original nature, is what the messenger was breaking down, right? As we read on, he said they're in North America. How many original Muslims are there? He said a little over 17 million. Well, at the time, based on the census, back in the 40s and 50s, we were claiming 17 million. That number doubled, apparently, and probably is triple since then in 2023 right now, right? So he's giving you a context to back in the 40s and 50s. The census was reported it was 17 million of us in the country, Nubians or Cushites, Moors, quote unquote, Negroids, right? Did I hear you say that some of the 17 million did not know they were Muslims? Yes, sir. I can hardly have faith in that unless they are blind, deaf, and dumb. Well, they were made blind, deaf, and dumb by the devil when they were babies, right? Can the devil fool a Muslim? Not nowadays, right? So pause right there. That's a popular cliche that even, Dr. Malachi York, the master teacher, used to break down, grabbing that from the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it's really breaking down to us in this day and time that once we got right knowledge and we really wake up to who we are, you really can't be fooled unless you want to be fooled, unless it's attractive to you. And some of us grow attracted to being fooled or being abused or being hurt, or we get attracted to that mentality, that energy, and it feeds other entities that harm us in the long run. So, all right, not meaning to digress, let's read on. Do you mean to say that the devil fooled them 379 years ago? Yes. The trader made an interpretation that they would receive gold for their labor, right? More than they were owning in their own country. Did they receive the gold? No, the trader disappeared and there was no one that could speak their language. Then what happened? Well, they wanted to go back to their own country, but could not swim the 9,000 miles, right? Why didn't their own people go and get them? Because their own people did not know that they were here. When did their own people find out that they were here? Approximately 60 years ago, right? So this is the messenger giving an account with a dialogue with W.F. Muhammad, Master Farad Muhammad, to him, as he claims, right? About some information that they were exchanging at the time. And he wrote it down in parables and metaphors and cliches. And these were some of the original lessons that were given to the Nation of Islam back in the day. And they still master and recite these today for clarity and for wisdom, right? Any questions, any concerns, any comments? All right, we're on page 141, and it looks like enlightening words is where we're at page 141. Right, so I'm gonna keep it going, family. It's the foundation in the building, so I'm gonna keep it going. I'm gonna call on somebody probably the next page to help me read it out. Right, so enlightening words. There are some children who never sincerely accept their father as they should. So this is the nature of the human family of the earth. When it comes to spiritual teachings, most of our leaders have good intentions, but they just don't have the right instruments since they are not appointed to do the job. But all our people today have the desire to do something for themselves, and first of all, to see injustice removed from the home. We have suffered injustice at the hands of the white people for 400 years. If the master gave up his position as master, the slave would soon become his equal. If the equal justice were obtained all the way through as it should be, for we would have come to the time when we want justice and equality. The man of sin and his people deceive the righteous by making them have faith that he also is one of the righteous. We look forward to the hereafter, to seeing the living under a ruler and a government of righteousness after the destruction of the unrighteous. So, this is a summary of that, right? That's powerful too, family, because it's breaking down the truth and the reality of what they were feeling even back in those days. And a lot of that is the same situation today with the oppression and the covert stuff that they do psychologically with the food, everything, right? So let's read on. We're on page 142. It says Sheikh Al-Hajj Dawood Ahmed Faisal, teacher of the Sunni Muslims, founder of the American Muslim Mission in America, who came from Morocco, West Africa. So, the master teacher to the master teacher, right? Sheikh Dawood was, more from Morocco. Words of our great teacher, Sheikh Al-Hajj Dawood Ahmed Faisal, 1891 to 1990 AD. Right knowledge, right? And what I'm going to do is call on Sister Ibri for a minute, and she can go through right knowledge for us. And I would really appreciate it if you don't mind, sis. Cool.
Words of one of our great teachers, Sheikh Al-Hajj Dawood Ahmed Faisal, 1891 to 1980 AD. Right knowledge. The pursuit of knowledge is a duty imposed by the Almighty Creator, Allah, upon every human being. It is the acquisition of knowledge that makes humanity superior to the angels. The acquisition of knowledge is obligatory, imposed upon every Muslim male and female. Acquire knowledge. It enables its possessor to distinguish right from wrong. It lights our way to heaven. It is our friend in the desert, our society in solitude, our companion when friendless. It guides us to happiness. It sustains us in misery. It is an ornament amongst friends and armor against enemies. Learn to know yourself. Who are the least learned? They practice what they know. Philosophy is the stray camel of the faithful. Take hold of it wherever you find it. All knowledge is Allah and came from Allah. No man is independent and self-taught. Allah taught the angels, and the angels taught the prophets, and the prophets taught humanity, and humanity teaches each other.
Thank you, sis. Pause right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is the way knowledge was acquired.
Right. Apologies. Thank you, sis, Sister Ibri. That whole context is heavy, family. If y'all was listening and going along with what the sister was reading, Sister Ibri was reading, he's breaking down a lot. So let's go back from where she left off all the way back to the top. One of the things that grabbed me when she was reading, he said they practice what they know. Philosophy is the stray camel of the faithful, right? And camels are very dependable, right? But when you're in the desert in this dolo, right, it's very harsh, right? So he's giving the construct of what they practice to what they know. A lot of people depend on modern day philosophy as one of they statues of what they stand on. Well, I got this, and I got this degree, and I got this expertise, and I got this. And I say all the time, and there's no disrespect to anybody, education is crucial, right? But you have to look at it in the context of how it's applied, right? It's easy to say you have all these degrees and you have this position, you have this job, but what is it doing for the circle? What is it doing for anybody other than yourself, right? So I look at that when he says philosophy is a straight camel of the faithful, right? Take hold of whatever you find. All knowledge is Allah and came from Allah. That's the source. We're talking about Elo, right? Allah, Elo, same thing. Even going beyond that, right? He's breaking down human beings, right? He said, Allah upon every human being is the acquisition of knowledge that makes humanity superior to the angels, right? So even to the angels, it's the acquisition of knowledge. That's why we all here in this circle. That's why we bear witness to who the master teacher is. Because we know when we hear the truth, that's the truth, right? And we've been blessed with that ability to even pick up the truth and resonate with it on any level. And there's some people it takes a lot for them to resonate with the truth. And then some people can't hear it at all. So to me, that's a blessing in, within itself, right? He's going down the Muslim male, female acquired knowledge and enables its possessor to distinguish right from wrong, right? So it's like giving us the architect design to establish our own intelligence by using information. So that whole context of what she was reading, learn to know thyself, who are the least learned, right? And it said that in the scriptures, the tool, the biblios, the meek shall inherit the earth, right? So the less learned amongst us, or those considered the least intelligent amongst the standard, will be the ones that run this thing. So it's not about having a position or a degree or some type of wealth situation, right? It's about having that intelligence and acquiring the information to make this thing pop off. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that, sis. Do you mind reading the next page for us and rock it out all the way down to page 142, Sister Evie?
Okay, hold on. Ethics in Islam. Imbue yourself with divine attributes. Says Muhammad, Allah is the prototype of man, and his attributes form the basis of Muslim ethics. Righteousness in Islam consists of leading a life of complete harmony with divine attributes. Sin is to act otherwise. Charity or almsgiving, all of the faculties of man have been given to him as a trust from his Lord. All the faculties of man have been given to him as a trust from his Lord for the benefit of his fellow creatures.
Pause right there, Sister Evie. Pause right there. Let me just interrupt. I'm just going to add some context to what you just read. And I know a lot of us are reading this and we're looking at it you got to look at it through the sunglasses of Elijah Muhammad, because it's giving the context of how he's going through. And then it's going to give you the context of Sheikh Dawood and give you the context of how he's going through. So now we're looking at it through the sunglasses of Sheikh Dawood as he's giving some of these points, right? And then the master teacher is summarizing. So it's like, with the charity of almsgiving, it's like all the faculties of man have been given to him as a trust from his Lord. When they say Lord, we know they actually say Yahweh, one of the Elohim, one of those beings that was royalty, or one of the Anunnaki, or things like that. So let's just give you a hierarchy to a position. So all our faculties been given to us as a trust from one of these high beings, you feel me? And all the faculties of man have been given to him as a trust from his Lord. So it's basically letting you know that we act, everything that we act upon, some of the better attributes that we have, those were gifts that were given to us. Intelligence, the ability to discern, the ability to be loyal, the ability to be trustworthy. You follow what I'm saying? He said, from the benefit of his fellow creatures. So we were endowed with these abilities that some of the lower creatures don't really operate on. Some of them operate on instinct, or just some of the other creatures in general don't operate how we operate. But it's for the benefit of them that we made like this. They always say, be the bigger man, be the bigger woman. And for a couple of years, y'all, I got tired of doing that. I'm pretty sure y'all did too. But there is a benefit in doing that. Not striking back, not seeking that vengeful status, not doing unto others when they do negatively to you and you want to do negative to them. There's a benefit in not reacting that way, right? So that's what I'm getting, for the benefit of his fellow creatures, right? So please read on. Appreciate it.
Okay. Says, it is man's duty to live for others, and his charity must apply without any distinction of person. Charity in Islam brings man nearer to his Lord. Charity and the giving of alms have been made obligatory, and any person who possesses property above a certain limit has to pay a tax levied on the rich for the benefit of the unfortunate.
All right, pause right there, sis. Pause right there. Once again, Sheikh Dawood is breaking down some things right here. He said it's a duty of man, that it's man's duty to live for others, and his charity must apply without any distinction of persons, right? So it's like, man, if you say that you're a giving person, you can't discriminate against who you give. Like, prime example today, and I do this because it was a True Light tape that I heard like in the late 80s, early 90s, you know what I'm saying, about a master teacher, and he was breaking down like, you can't judge anybody that might need some money on the corner. You might be talking to an angel that's testing your nature just to see if you're humble or a giving person. They might come down and incarnate just for that particular scene and that episode to test your nature. So I constantly think about that as a man when people, you know, are on the street and they're homeless and they're asking for something. So as I'm getting out of my car, going into the store, you know, a European woman, you know what I'm saying, and she looked homely. She called me out the car. She's like, yo, would you happen to have $1 that, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I was tripping because I had like a $5 bill in my hand, right? And so it's like, okay, yeah, I can give you something when I come out the store, right? So that's what I did. I gave her $1 when I came out the store like I said I would. And she told me, this is what she told me. She said, thank you, sir. God bless you, right? And I know in the scene of it, it don't really add up to anything if you was in the scene like, oh, that's just the homeless woman saying that, God bless you, she happy to get some money. But on the other side of it, it's like, man, how many of us who have something get blessed by somebody who has nothing? You know, that means something to me. Like when people have nothing, but they still asking God to bless you because you did something for them. To me, that's powerful. It may seem sentimental, but there's an energy behind that, right? You have something, and this person has damn near nothing. They on the street, they homeless, and they still asking God to bless you. So I'm like, man, that's an attribute that's I think it's power behind that. When it talks about the charity and giving of alms, you know, basically being obligatory. It's like, man, it's obligatory. It's obligatory to not obligatory, but an obligation, right, to give the charity, to have charity in your heart, to give the people that don't have as much as we have. Because I know everybody's in the struggle, but man, there's some places in South America and even in Africa that we can go to right now, and based on what we have, they will look at us as rich. And that's real talk. They will look at us as, y'all already rich. Y'all got a bathroom in the crib. Y'all got food. Y'all got a car. Y'all got clothes. So, you know, you take everything in perspective, family. So that's a very good, you know what I'm saying, very good context from you know what I'm saying, one of our mentors, Sheikh Dawood. Sister Iba Ray, I'm calling you one last time to just follow up and close the 142 out with the Sanctity of Labors, if you don't mind.
Sanctity of labors. It is only through righteousness and the goodwill of a man in respect and obedience to and for the laws and commandments of our Lord in respect for the individual's human rights can be maintained in the world of man. But with your help and your goodwill and help and the guiding obedience to the laws and the commandments of our Lord, in the hands of our Lord, we can restore peace to the world, security of our persons, and the security of our homes and the homes of our human brethren. And this can only be accomplished through...
Pause right there, sis. Pause right there. I'll carry on to the next page, but I think that's heavy. First of all, I appreciate sis for reading. And the Sanctity of Labors, what she just read, you know, what he's breaking down. Notice how Sheikh Dawood, he's actually saying, but with your help and your goodwill and help, you know, he's doubling up on the help, right? The helpers, the aiders, the ansari, the answers, right? And the guiding obedience to the laws and the commandments of our Lord, you know, Yahweh, one of the Elohim, right? In the hands of our Lord, one of the Elohim. You feel me? So we can restore peace in the world. So that's one of the things that we were focused on, you know, saying back in the day when we first started the mission as an Ansar Allah community. We was trying to spread that peace. You know, then we started realizing that we had to clean up, you know, religion, because we were so indoctrinated with religion. And so we started cleaning up religion so much that we had to clean up the religion that was in us. So we phased out of Islam after that and took it to right knowledge. But right now, that's page 142. And I appreciate fam for you reading. In the next page, 143, gives you a picture of Sheikh Dawood Ahmed Faisal. You know what I'm saying? That's the teacher of the master teacher, right? Then we go to page 144, right? This is chapter 2, the slaves. This is Holy Tablets, 144, the House of Who. And I'm gonna keep it going, family. He was the title was Islam, what she was rolling over to last time. So let me read on. You must work hard in order to create industries of your own, in order to be able to employ yourselves and your human brethren alike. You pause right there. This is even Sheikh Daoud breaking down. It's like, man, start your own stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hire your own people, build your own wealth, right? That's what he's talking about, like a financial co-op. This is what we should have been on back in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. Then the foundation, the institutions would have been set for this new generation, right? But that wasn't put in place, right? We tried to do it too, but we didn't have enough time to do it. Then they came and attacked us, right? So let me read on. You must stop depending upon others for livelihood and servants to those who do not have faith in the Lord, our Creator, and who respect and regard not His holy laws. So pause right there. It's crazy, because as I'm reading into that, family, he says you must stop depending upon others for livelihood. That's letting you know right now. Stop paying other people to make you happy, and servants to those who do not have faith in the Lord, our Creator. It's like, man, in retrospect to what the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, was teaching, and the teacher of the master teacher, Sheikh Daoud, and even the master teacher himself, man, he was talking about do for self. Like, how you really saying you do for self? How you really saying you're a God if you're working for somebody else, right? And I totally get that construct. But then the master teacher flipped, you know what I'm saying? And he also said, we need these type of people with trades. We need doctors. We need somebody in law. We need this. We need firemen. We need policemen, because we need to be a part of this situation so we'll know what's going down. So it's a double-sided entendre right there, family, a two-sided coin, right? You can read into that how you want to, but let me keep reading on, right? So it says, nor have any respect for your rights, nor the rights of humanity in general. It's like basically taking you back, like we really working for the devil, right? We, like some of these CIA agents and these FBI agents, when they go in and they investigate and they infiltrate, you know, organizations that's trying to uplift the people. Let's go back to Judas and the Black Messiah movie. That's a prime example. You know what I'm saying? The government used one of our own brothers and infiltrated them and used him to basically kill all of them, right? And they do it all the time. You know what I'm saying? So we got to look out for that. And that's what he's breaking down right now, right here, Sheikh Daoud is, right? But as the Muslims, if you return to the worship of the one true creator of our fathers and humanity in Islam and obey his laws and commandments, we can help to restore peace and security to the world of humanity with the help of Allah, the Almighty Creator. But keep in mind, pause right here, family, keep in mind, this is the perspective of the teacher, the master teacher, Sheikh Daoud, right? Because he was born in Morocco, he was Muslim from birth. So he was rocking the real Islam, right? Now, when he came to America, that's what he set up and started teaching, right? All right, this is the House of Who. This is page 144. We in the Holy Tablets, family. This is a discussion class. This is chapter 2, the slaves, El Jawtat, and the Wapic slaves, chapter 2. We were going over some of the sayings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, now on Sheikh Daoud, right? And now we're about to cross into, let me just summarize that 144 from the Sheikh Daoud when he said, we shall, as a last warning, stay away from evil things, evil and unclean men and women. Be honest, just, and be truthful at all times, at any cost, in accordance with the laws of Islam. And everyone in the room, we understand through the master teacher, Islam, the true translation means peace, right? The laws of peace, right? So that's a very good summary, you know what I'm saying, from Sheikh Daoud. He's breaking down and stay away from evil things, evil, unclean men and women. Be honest, be truthful, at all times, at any cost, in accordance with the laws of peace. So that's some powerful knowledge, you know what I'm saying, from the teacher, the master teacher, the noble Sheikh Daoud. So we're gonna go on to 144. This is actually getting into Clarence Jower Smith. He's the teacher of the 5% Nation, right, which they call themselves the 5%ers, right? And he came from Danville, Virginia, in America, right? And so we got Sheikh Daoud from Morocco, we got the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from Georgia, and now we got Clarence Smith from Virginia. So words of the great teachers, Clarence Jower Smith, also known as Clarence 13X or Clarence 37X, 1929 to 1969. right? AD. Brother was 40 when he passed, right? This is supreme mathematics knowledge. Starts at birth and is the foundation of all things in existence. Knowledge is the original man who was the foundation of the earth's family. Knowledge is simply to know. Right knowledge is to know the right way to use it, right? So let me repeat that. Knowledge is simply to know. Right knowledge is to know the right way to use it. So not just having knowledge, it's the application of it when you deal with right knowledge. How do you apply what you know, right? The right way to use it, right? Wisdom comes with age and is the wise word spoken by the original people of the planet Earth. Women are the moon because she receives her light from the sun, which is the Nubian man, right? And reflects it on the star, which is the child. Wisdom is the manifestation of one's knowledge. So pause right here. This is the perspective of Clarence Smith as he was taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You dig? So wisdom is the manifestation of one's knowledge, right? Breaking that down, if wisdom is the woman, knowledge is the man, right? It's giving you an understanding that a great man will manifest a great woman, right? So that's what I'm gaining from that. Understanding grows into an overstanding, right? Notice he said understanding grows into an overstanding. You have an understanding when you have baby knowledge. You have an understanding when you have adolescent knowledge. That's pause right there. That's become a popular phrase in the quote unquote conscious community for many, many years when they resonate on understanding, right? Right here is breaking it down. That's an adolescent knowledge, right? And when you have overstanding, you are a supreme being. Culture is the Nubian's true way of life, right? Thus, accept the word cult, for you are cultivating your culture, which is peace, or Islam, is taught by a God incarnate called pudding, right? So we're talking about basically Clarence 13X, because we are all gods. You know what I'm saying? That's what the master teacher taught. That's even what Yahshua taught 2,000 years ago. This is the doctrine, right? And means I, S, self, L, Lord, A, and M, master, which is Islam. So phonetically, or from letters, right, anacronyms, Clarence 13X is breaking down the word Islam in English, right? I, self, Lord, and master, which is Islam. Freedom is to free the dumb and the deaf and the blind into a state of awareness so that they can see the Nubian man is indeed a deity, right? So all of them have been trying to free us. Pause right here. All of the great teachers have been trying to free us. All of the speakers been trying to free us, the prophets, whatever you want to call them. They've been trying to make us free by waking us up with the information. And he's breaking it down. Dumb, deaf, and blind, right? Power or refinement. Power is the truth, which is the light of intellect that brings one out of triple stages of darkness into their true way of life, which is Islam, peace. Refinement is to be clean and purified mentally as well as physically. Equality is to be equal in all things in existence, such as knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. When you share your knowledge through wisdom and brings forth an understanding, it only shows and proves equality. So he's breaking it down. 1 is knowledge, 2 is wisdom, 3 is understanding, right? It's all being born to equal 6. God, the letter G, is the 7th letter of the English alphabet. God is a deity that is the original Nubian man who has power to build or destroy. Deity is the Nubian man who has knowledge of himself and all around him. Build or destroy. Build is to add on, right? So this is how Clarence 13X was teaching some of his students. This is page 144 of the Holy Tablets. We go into page 145. We'll see a picture of the brother Clarence 13X as depicted by the master teacher in the Holy Tablets. And now we're on page 146. So this is page 146. The Slaves, chapter 2 of the Holy Tablets. Any comments or concerns, family, just let me know. Right now, it looks like we're going over some of the teachers that we've had prior to the master teacher. That was Clarence. Right now, it's Clarence 13X. Before that, it was Sheikh Dawood, and before that, it was Elijah Muhammad, right? So, page 146. Or to elevate on positivity. Destroy is to take away negativity. Right, so when we hear the 5% talk about I'm gonna destroy, they're just trying to make something positive. They're trying to take away negativity and make it positive. Build a righteous nation and destroy the devil's civilization is to be brought into existence physically as well as mentally. Physically through the mother's womb and mentally through Allah's mathematics. right? So he's going into some of their mathematics as the 5 percenters, right? 0 is a cipher, right? Is a 360 degree, or the old cipher is a 360 degree circle of 120 degrees of knowledge, 120 degrees of wisdom, and 120 degrees of understanding, making it complete. Peace equals P positive, E energy, A always, C creates, E elevation, right? When the number 10 is manifested, it would be knowledge add-on cipher, or knowledge cipher, knowledge representing the number 1, right? So if 1 is knowledge and 0 is cipher, they say knowledge cipher. It's kind of like some code, numbers and meaning behind it. And they base it on some of the doctrines that he got from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? So it speaks about the 12 jewels as taught by God incarnate, pudding. Keep in mind, pudding is Clarence 13X. I don't know why they call it pudding, but they just did, right? This is page 146. Knowledge is the foundation of all things in existence. Wisdom is the manifestation of the knowledge one acquires. Overstanding is the mental picture projected through knowledge and wisdom. Freedom is to free the dome so that you can express your culture. Islam, which is peace, with no restrictions. Justice is the reward or penalty given to one according to their own deeds. Is to deal, this is equality, is to deal with one another, all things, each one teach one. Food is the nourishment needed to sustain one physically and mentally. So keep in mind, pause right there. I like how you said food is for physical and mental. So it's, it's physical food. Of course, we know about that. And then it's mental food, or what we call food for thought, or food for thought, which is Tahuti, right? Physically by nutrients or nutritious elements given to the body to keep it healthy. Mentally by Allah's mathematics, right? Which is the knowledge, right? Knowledge, right? So I'm getting the perspective, right? We were getting the perspective of Clarence 13X. Now, he was teaching back in the day. And it really correlates to what we've always been teaching about the science, the mathematics, the right knowledge, the wisdom and understanding. It's all summarizing it up. Most of all the great teachers were really screaming the same thing. They were just in different timelines, right? The messenger brought out Yaqub got the devil. The master teacher brought it out and gave you detail about it so you can get an overstanding of it. So, Elijah will be responsible for bringing the knowledge. Some of the other teachers brought some wisdom. And then, the master teacher brings it overstanding, right? So we go on down to clothing, right? Clothing is the covering to protect the body, to protect it physically. Mentally, it is the covering of the mind to protect it from negative thoughts or suggestions. So that's a good point, family. We're getting some wisdom here, right? Not only you clothe your body to keep it warm and protect it against the outside, you also sometimes have to clothe your mind to protect it from negative thinking, negative thoughts, or other people's impressions, and even in a higher situation, telepathic influences from other motherfuckers, excuse my French, or other people, other beings, other entities, right? Because people can project on you sometimes. And then some people around us, our friends, our family, people at work or whatever, people can have a tendency to project negative stuff on you, sometimes without you being aware of it. So you got to keep your mental clothes on, so to speak. So I appreciate Clarence 13X breaking that down, Any comments right now, family? All right, we're going to keep it going. Shelter. All right, shelter physically, it is home or a place of residence where one finds peace and protection from the negative weather. Mentally, it is the mind, right? So that's deep within itself, right? We know what shelter is, house, crib, apartment, whatever. But then sheltering your mind, right, from other things or other influences. I always think about, growing up, X-Men, Magneto had the helmet on. The helmet was designed to protect him from, basically Professor Xavier's telepathic control of his mind. So it's always like, put your helmet on sometimes, your mental helmet, because other people be trying to get in and make you think a certain way or suggest that you think a certain way. Oh, you should do this, you should do that. If I was you, I'd do this. I always look for people to say if they was me, they would do this. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's good to know. Anyway, go to love, right? Love is the highest elevation of overstanding with a force so strong that it cannot be broken. And that's deep. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And it's true because, love even goes beyond death. You still love people when they pass on. It's a connection there. And oftentimes you love the baby before it's born if you're carrying it. So it's like love is a deep thing, multi-dimensional situation. It's a force that we manifest, and we know it's a reflection of the divine love, that who, that creative will, that force, right? Peace. Peace is a universal greeting coming out of love, because without love, there would never be peace, right? And that's just pretty much self-explanatory. Can't be peace without love. You can't have peace in humanity if ain't nobody loving each other, right? Kind of going back to what the master teacher been saying for years, love is the key, right? Happiness. Happiness is a state one achieves out of love and peace. Let's keep this in mind, family. We started off with Islam being the peace, right? That's the true meaning of Islam. It's not to submit, as modern day Arabs and Indo-Arabs would have you believe and think. Islam means submission. Islam has always meant peace, a state of tranquility, right? So if you go into these last attributes that Clarence 13X is given, happiness, peace, love, they all kind of summarize and point to the same force, right? Peace, gotta have love. Peace, gotta have love. Happiness. So it's giving you the context that thing is very important, all right? Now we go into the supreme alphabet, right? And I'm gonna go through it, family. If no one wants to volunteer to read, I'm taking volunteers if anyone wants to volunteer. If not, I'll go on with it. All right. So A, this is Supreme Alphabet by Clarence 13X. He was a teacher of the 5% Nation. This is chapter 2, the slaves of the Holy Tablets, El Jarudat, and 146 is the page. So Supreme Alphabet. A, Allah is the original Nubian man, the maker and the owner of the planet Earth, and the one who made the Holy Quran, which he applies to every mile of land, 1 year to equal his home circumference, who is the all-seeing I, Allah, see all. So that's deep within itself. Let's unpack that, right? Allah, right? We know Elijah Muhammad taught his students that the Asiatic black man was the maker. Who was Allah? Who was God? Like when he said Asiatic black man, he was really referring to two offsets. He was referring to the Hindus, and he was referring to the mixing of us with the Hindus and how we migrated after the so-called flood of Uf and the Fish or Noah, right? From Sumeria on down into Africa when the Cush, Ham, and Japheth started to migrate into Africa after the flood. That's about 12,000 years ago, family, right? He's referring to that Asiatic black man, right? But he's also telling you who God is or who Allah is. Clarence 13X is repeating the same mantra, the Nubian man, because that was his teacher. And then he goes on to expound who made the Holy Quran, which applies to every mile of land, right? 24,896 miles, right? Which is what the circumference is of the planet Earth, right? So he's going into B. Notice he says all-seeing I too. I don't think he really expounded upon that as Clarence 13X, and I can't really find no reference to that in Elijah Muhammad's doctrine, where he's talking about an all-seeing eye that I can recall right now. So I want to say that he was probably expounded upon that, and he didn't go any further with that. But we know that all-seeing eye is that dollar bill that's actually talking about some Nimrod type of stuff, right? So B is be or born. You must be born physically first, then you must be born twice mentally, right? So he's saying twice mentally. Notice he said 2 times mentally. He get that from, quote unquote, Yahshua 2,000 years ago, where he says you must be born again in order to make it. Right? He said, well, how can a man be born again? He needs to come out of his mother's womb 1 time. Yahshua said the same thing. You must be reborn of your spirit. Well, in this particular case, mental, your mindset. You're born with one mindset, and as you grow and change and learn right knowledge and understanding everything, it develops into a second mind. So the new mind can look back at the old mind, and you can make a contrast. Right? That's what I'm pulling from that, family. And the ones who haven't been born twice mentally are the 85%ers. The poison animal eaters, slaves of a mental death and power, people who worship a mystery God. These are the ones that have to be born again. So notice with the 5%ers, they say 5%ers. And then they say 85%ers are those who are mentally dead. They, you know what I'm saying? They poison animal eaters, which is pretty much he's calling it out. They flesh eaters, right? They're eating the poisonous stuff in these corporations. They slaves with mental death, right? We've been taught to worship death. It's in our music. It speaks for itself, right? People who worship a mystery God. We worship deities that look other than ourselves, and everybody else is worshiping people who look like them, So he's breaking it down right here. C is the C, right? So that's an acronym and a synonym, right? To see is to overstand. At one time, we couldn't truly see the trick that was planted in our path because we had the all eye mattress thrown over our eyes. Okay, let me go back. Let me unpack that. What do you say? At one time, we couldn't truly see the trick that was planted in our path because we had the all eye mattress thrown over our eyes. Okay, but we've been born twice, and now or know that we are Allah, the supreme eye that can see all. Okay, so I get what he's saying in context here when he says see is to see. It's basically saying once your mind opens, you can see things. Your third eye is open. It ain't closed. Even though it's blinking, you can still see some light, right? So that's the context of that. So D, divine or destroy, right? And this is Clarity 13X. This is an alphabet. We taught the 5%ers, right? D, divine or destroy. In order for you to be divine, you must destroy all negative thoughts in your brain by building on positive thoughts in this day and time. The only way you can be divine is by building with I, self, Lord, and Master, which is, the acronym for Islam, right? Which is peace. To have a peaceful mindset. That should be our one of our fourth-most goals is to establish peace around us and peace within ourselves. Well, peace within ourselves first, and then bring peace to other people. That's one of the reasons why we care about, we love people, because we want them to have a peaceful life like we want to have a peaceful life. We want our kids to have that peace, our family members, our friends, feel me? So that's overstood, right? When he says divine or destroy, you must destroy all negative thoughts. So being destructive is not really negative if you destroy negative stuff. In my personal opinion, right? So E, equality, is to be equal in every form of knowledge with your alike in order to take back the planet from the devil, who is the unalike or disagreeable. So is to be equal in every form of knowledge with your alike. So it's like, even when we was learning right now is back in the day, and people used to, I guess the society or the dunya as we call them, would say, y'all believe in that? Y'all believe in extraterrestrials? Y'all believe in cloning? Y'all believe in life on Mars? Y'all believe in, blah, 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 blah. And now all of that information, they bear witness that it's all true, right? So the same people years ago that was pointing the finger at our knowledge and saying we this and we that, now they're bearing witness to that. It's an equality in that situation, right? So I'm like, with your alike, in order to take back the planet from the devil was unalike or disagreeable. So we done brought some equality to the situation by just bringing the truth. Because the truth shut everybody down. I don't care how you feel about it. Truth is truth. 2 + 2 is 4 every time. So F, father, is to father or fat her. That's a slang or a dialect. Fatter is to get somebody pregnant, in my personal perspective, is to father or fat her. The young with the knowledge of self, which is righteousness, and by teaching them the science of everything in life, which is love, peace, and happiness, right? So when you father something, he's going deeper than just impregnating. He's going to actually mentor it, and actually being a father figure to anyone, Then he goes on to say God at the end is the supreme being, the original man, the one who is the winner without an opponent in everything he deals with. Because God put all things here by wisdoming his power and knowledging his equality from all things he built upon. That's heavy. That's real talk. H, he or her, must refine her with the knowledge of he, which is God, in order to build and born. And this is a Twister family. Bear with me. This is page 147. H, he or her, must refine her with the knowledge of he, which is God, in order to build and born a strong foundation to carry out civilization through the queen, her. So this is their cataclysm. This is their catchphrase. These are the catechisms that they're using in the 5% that they got from the Nation of Islam. And I'm reading into it, and I know he's watering it down for the streets, because some of this information, when he says fat her, that was never the doctrine of Elijah Muhammad. So he's kind of expounding on some of this information and designing this alphabet for purpose, for some positive, for the street crowd that was in the 40s and the 50s. I'm getting what he's saying. So, I is, or is one, or Islam, or the I is the only universal way of life for the black man, woman, and child. This is Islam. And the only one that knows and understands this is God. And God must resurrect the dead with Islam. Peace. teaching which brings them to freedom, justice, and equality. So it's kind of summarizing some of the same things that Elijah Muhammad taught, right? J, justice. All those who can't deal with mathematics will be just ice at 32 degrees below zero because they fail to understand the wisdom of God, which deals just and true with all human families on the planet Earth. So they're basically saying, justice is basically anybody that don't want to be righteous, they dead to them. The 5%ers weren't even looking at them as living. If you don't want justice for people, then they consider you just ice. You dead, you frozen, right? And that's also some Masonic jargon too, because at 32 degrees, you're still a Mason, but then when you get that honorary Albert Pike degree that he invented, you become a 33rd degree Mason, quote unquote, you consider a Shriner. They bring you back to life. So that's some little hidden Masonic jargon in that 32 degrees below zero situation, which is why they say Christ died at 33. He was on the planet for 33 years and he died, and he was resurrected. That's the symbolism behind that 33. And you also look at the longitude and latitude of the planet. So it goes into that too. But let's go to K, which is king or kingdom, right? The king is the founder of his kingdom, so he must acknowledge the knowledge in his circumference so that he can enforce his laws and to be recognized as being the king of his kingdom. So that once again, this is self-explanatory. He's using K to represent a position. He's getting this information from Elijah Muhammad. Master teachers rewriting it so it can format itself to right knowledge. 147, L, love, hell, or right. The love is the overstanding, and misunderstanding is what brought forth hell. But this is all going back to the degree of the supreme understanding, because this is, as we cross over to page 147 to 148, family, chapter 2 of the Holy Tablets of Slaves, this is the only truth that is right and exact at all times. M is master, right? Is the one who has experienced a certain type of skill, but the master of all is God, Allah, because he knows and understands all circumstances on earth as well as in the universe, right? That's M for master. N, no or nation or end. Now is the time for the black man to end all his weak ways so that the black nation on earth can uprise the knowledge of all its creation and put them all in order. Once again, or surely it will be the end now. So he's going to give a reference for the letter N. We go to O, which is cipher, right? Is a person, place, or thing. It is most commonly called cipher because CI, power, psi power, her through the equality that I gave her, which is the truth, and the truth is 360 degrees of purified knowledge. So once again, I can comprehend some of this with right knowledge, but once again, this is Clarence 13X's mystique and how he taught some of the children up under him who became the 5% nation, right? P is power. Mental and physical powers of a devil is nothing in comparison to that of the original man. The devil has 6 ounces of grafted brain, which are weak and wicked, 100%. But God's power is original, meaning the first, and possesses 7.5 ounces of brain, which put all things here, which is also 100%. The understanding in God is what makes him Allah. All right, so that's a double entendre within itself. Now I don't know about the 6 ounces of grafted brain in Yaku's species, the fluoride, and I don't know about the Nubian man having 7.5 ounces of brain, but that's a good way to Google and test that theory, family, as we go forward. All right, so Q, Queen, the most purified particle of Allah, better known as the true, rich black soil, the mother of civilization, who has the scale of justice within her, but is still blind to her powers. I'll pause right here. When he talks about the Queen, he starts giving us reference. This is Clarence 13X, giving us this directive, family. Page 148, Holy Tablets. When he talks about, the black soil, the mother of civilization, who has a scale of justice with her, at first I thought about my aunt, and then I thought about, the symbol of justice in front of the Supreme Court with the, the European statue with the blindfold on, with the scale. I'm thinking about that. So maybe Clarence 13X is taking a little Maya perspective, but also looking at the justice system, because he was arrested, just keeping it real. Let's read on. It says, who has the scale of justice within her, but is still blind to her powers, which is being queen of the universe and earth below, but has the power to control both the energy that God gave her. right? And that's cool. I like what he's saying about that. When you look at it, we don't use queen here, what I'm saying, in the house of who or in right knowledge, because we know what it means. That's coming from the European perspective, but we understand, the dialogue that he's saying. So right now, we got any questions, any concerns, any comments? All right, so we going through it. We almost there. All right, so R, rule or ruler, right? God is the only ruler there is, but acknowledging his building powers, making it born to all planets of the universe, they can go according to it and bear witness to who the true ruler is. Excuse me. S is self or savior. You must be a savior to yourself, so that in the atmosphere you're in, you can be capable of saving self for the best part, because self is the nation of the 5%ers, from knowledge to born self. T, truth or square, right? So it's going down through the alphabet family, and I'm gonna go on to Z, and then I'm gonna call on a volunteer to go ahead and kind of channel us out on page 149. Right. So T, truth or square. The truth is only light that can stand by itself in the surrounding darkness, right? Which is true, right? Yet be noticed shining in the square of the universe, which is 360 degrees. When the wisdom adds a cipher, it shines that energy of truth, breaks through the darkness. Now that's kind of like some hidden context, because for me, I think about the master teacher breaking this down with the circle and the square, and how that's hydrogen and that's helium, they coming together. Or really, the circle was turned inside out to make the square, right? To create the hydrogen and helium chain reaction, which they make suns with. And that's the light. The light's everything. So I'm getting that context from right knowledge, and kind of like this simple equation that Clarence 13 broke down for T, truth for square. All right. But reading on, family, you are the universe. You are the universe because you are the producer of the suns, the moon, the stars, the original people. I get that. Our family go back deep. We made this stuff. They made this stuff. V for victory. Wisdom brings about a bad culture when one's wisdom is destroyed instead of acting according to the way of life, which makes the culture, God, which is Islam, the only victory known. So that's an entendre within the 5%ers, right? W, wisdom. It is an expression of knowledge, while the understanding brings about a clear picture of both through the eye of understanding. And that's really what it is, right? Knowledge, you know something. Wisdom is really when you really start being able to apply it because you comprehend it. So I get that. Of course, X is the unknown. Equality is unknown to those who don't know themselves. The 85%ers, which are the deaf, the dumb, and the blind, the so-called Negroes, that need to grow from their mental depth and power because they are unknown to themselves. So he's giving you the poetry of English because he was raised in English, right? Negroes, those who need to grow. We get it. We get what he's doing. This is the street talk that he needed to reach the masses during that time in New York after he had left the Nation of Islam. Why? Right? Why is the question most frequently asked by those who are blind, deaf, and dumb, because they don't know how to wisdom their power to show and prove you God, manifesting the making of God. You why? And you hear a lot of this 5% breakdown in some of the Wu-Tang Clan and some of the hip hop rappers that are 5%. They'll break that down. It used to be Black Moon, and so forth and so forth. So now we're at Z family. Z, zigzag zig, meaning knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? So that's just kind of like, Cameron 13X breaking down the alphabet, for the nation of gods and earth, the 5%ers at that time. So we'll keep on reading on. This is page 149. This is the slaves, and the master teacher is covering pretty much some of our great teachers that influenced us over here in North America. From Noble Jew Ali, we read Elijah Muhammad, we read Sheikh Dawood. Now we're covering Clarence 13X. So without further ado, I'm gonna call on a volunteer to read with me this evening. We are recording live here. So Sister Rochelle, would you mind reaching out and just reading a few words for us tonight, if that's possible?
This is how it was conveyed from Clarence Javon. I'm gonna say Mr. Smith, known as Pudding, and Allah to his followers, the 5% nation. Think and remember where you came from. We are the original seed of what you all call gods. You were taught to call us gods by the malevolent, disagreeable beings, the Luciferians, the serpent people, the human beast.
Pause right there, sis, for one moment, right? Now, Master Teacher's taking this to a different level, right? Think and remember that you were where you come from, original seed. You call us gods. He was taught to call us gods by those benevolent, disagreeable beings, Luciferians. So worship was set up to separate us from who we really are. All right, please read on, sis. Thank you.
Okay. They have influenced the minds of leaders, either by appearance and physical form, as in the case of Venerian ones of violent. Once your phone stay blow up. Thor's own was known to us as Master Fard Muhammad, 1877, 1934 AD, who came as a god from Saudi Arabia, Middle East, to seek out the lost tribe of Shabazz and to teach them knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Up and above all of these great men, disagreeables crept in the form of misinterpretations and misguide you all the path, and we call out guides us. That's us.
Yeah, we call out, guide us to the way of the one who stand straight.
Stand straight. Do stand straight. The way of those who have been bestowed your grace, and not those who have been cursed, nor of those who have been astray.
Pause right there, sis. He's letting you know right there. Let's go back. Let's unpack what she just read right there. Thank you, sis. She just read, that's crazy because she read, okay, let's go back in 5. They have influenced the minds of our leaders, either by appearance and physical form, right? So he's letting you know disagreeable beings, the Luciferians, the serpent people, the human beasts, they have influenced the minds of our leaders, either by appearance and physical form, as in the case of Venerian, meaning this dude was from Venus. One of Valiant Thor's own. This dude worked for Valiant Thor. They were from Venus, who was known to us as Master Fard Muhammad. That's that guy I was telling you about that was under Noble Durali with Elijah Muhammad, 1877 to 1934, right? Who came as a quote unquote god. I thought it was Palestine or Saudi Arabia. Apparently, Saudi Arabia, Middle East, to seek out the lost tribe of Shabazz and to teach them knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Up and above all these great men, the disagreeable crept in the form of misinterpretation to misguide you off the path, right? So they kind of turned him into a god. That's why it's like, yo, Master Fard Muhammad was God, Allah in person, right? And they misinterpret that. You know what I'm saying? Any being that comes down and teaches us the higher knowledge, we can interpret it. That dude he's godly. So over time, he's God in person. Yeah, he's breaking it down. It was misinterpreted, right? I'm gonna read on a little bit further, sis. Thank you so much, right? That's powerful within itself because he's letting you know the real Master Fard Muhammad worked with Vile Thor. They were from Venus, and they come down to teach, and maybe, from what he was teaching, Elijah Muhammad saw what he was teaching and took the best part of it and went off and did his own thing and formed the Nation of Islam. You know what I'm saying? Y'all notice Master Fard Muhammad didn't go with him. He just disappeared after that, right? So it's interesting to know that history with the Nation of Islam and how it ties into these so-called Venerians. Val Thor, we know about Valiant Thor. You can actually Google him and Instagram him. They came from Venus, back in the 50s, met with Pentagon officials and things like that. So anyhow, we'll read on here in 6. Remember your olive tone parents of long ago, the woolly hair beings, 9 ether or 9 to the 9th power of 9, right? Kingly crown, visitors to this solar system from the planet Risk. 7, remember our darkish reddish brown skin copper tone perfected in green as the greenest of olives because of the melanin that is within our genetics, which we have coded in our genes. The true Nubians, or the new beings, you Melanites, and your way of life, the Wapu, sound right reasoning. We are your original ether parents, the Etherians that have returned in flesh just for you. 9, you must know that in the lunar logging of the 5th point in the month of May, which is May 5th, when the planet Gaia, which is Earth, a living organism, also spelled Gaia or Gaia, positions itself in the location revolution of the planet called Earth in the year 2000, right? Which is the year 2000, of the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar we live in under, right? And the gate in which you refer to as heaven, right? And this great vortex, when opened in 2003, and we know the cycle of the portal or the vortex opening every 10 years, going back, I think it was 1943 when it started with the Philadelphia experiment with the USS Eldridge, when the government got some of the brightest scientists, von Neumann, Einstein, and others, even Tesla's technology, to try to create a cloaking device that would cloak a U.S. battleship for war purposes. And they accidentally opened up a portal, a vortex that reoccurs every 10 years from 43. So in 2003, that's when that vortex opened. But, of course, it opened 10 years after that in 2013, right? And now this is 2023. It's going to open up this year, right? According to the science, right? And the planets will have realigned themselves on the day of 5/5/2000, right? The Garobat, the cherubim, will be excused, and their flaming sword shall sway from the tree of eternal life, and it shall open once again to the throne of Anu, right? In the month of December in the year 1997 of the Gregorian calendar, on the solar calendar, which is, all right, and we scroll down from page 149, family, and 150. Let's give you a picture of that Venerian. Let's stop right there. Master Farah Muhammad, right? That's the Venerian that the master teachers are breaking down on page 149. That's who Elijah Muhammad, was being taught by, right? And we scroll on down. He's talking about this certain date throughout most of the world and sponsored by Pope Gregory, looks like 13th, in 1582 as a corrected version of Julian Caesar, which was a solar calendar. So he's breaking down the calendar where it came from, why it's called Gregorian, because of Pope Gregory the 13th in 1582, right? He corrected a version of the Julian calendar, which was a solar calendar introduced by Julius Caesar, right? Astronomer, his astronomer, Julius Caesar's astronomer in Rome in 46 BC, having a year of 12 months and 365 days and a leap year of 366 days every 4th year. A smaller alignment of the inner 7 planets in this solar system will have already taken place. He's talking about this date, family, right? This 5/5/2000. There were 7 planets that lined up on that 5/5/2000, right? And it was suggested that vortex would have been a great vortex for us to go through at the time, right? To get up out of this spot. That wasn't the case that happened, right? So 12, right? The planets aligned from the west to the east, beginning with Pluto, Gaga, then followed by Mercury, Mumu, and Mars, which is Lamu, then Venus, Lahamu, then Neptune, E, then Uranus, Anu, Jupiter, Kishar, and Saturn, which is Anshar, with a crescent moon alongside. Right? 13, this will be the alignment of the major planets and the mothership Nibiru, whose diameter is 63,408 miles. Let me pause right there. Keep in mind, the planet that we standing on, on the Zoom call with right now is 24,896 miles circumference, right? And the diameter alone of Nibiru is 63,000. So Nibiru is big, way bigger than Earth. Just kind of put that in context. And it can make itself bigger or smaller, right? But they got technology. Right? It will be nearing your solar system and waiting on the other side of the asteroid belt, which is the necklace of the firmament beneath the firmaments, for the time which is to be the lunar logging of the 12th point, the month of August. So August 12th, right? When the planet called Earth positions itself in the location of its own revolution in the year 2003, right? So 2003, August 12th, he was given reference to the Nibiru being close, right? And that gate being open, right? Which is when the vortex will reopen. So that would have been a prime opportunity for us to dip up out of here if the formula was right? So 14, Nibiru's appearance on November 15 was confirmed by scientists with the coming of the comet named Hale-Bopp. After its discoveries, Alan Hale and Thomas Bopp in the year 1996. Due to the size of Nibiru, which is 63,408 miles, if it was to come near your planet, its gravitational pull will begin to tear away parts of Tiamat, the Earth, and cause the other planets on this side of the asteroid belt to draw into each other. So if Nibiru got too close to the Earth, it could basically destroy the entire solar system, kill everybody, right? 16, so Nibiru stays on the other side of the asteroid or firmament where the planets Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and Pluto are. It stays on the side where it's like the larger planet, so to speak, right? With the exception of Pluto, right? 17, it is then that the shams, right? So right now, let me pause up. The master teacher at this point in time, the challenge was revealed in 1996. So this is prior to 2003, right? So we're talking about what happened prior to 2003. He's giving you the prediction of it because he knew that every 10 years that vortex is going to open up. That would have been a good time for us to dip up out of here, right? So let's go up here. And it says, it is then that the shams, which are passenger crafts, will reach the planet Earth coming forth to you for the rebirth of the elite few, the 144,000, from the moon base, forming the 6-point star and crescent moon in the sky as your sign. So he's letting you know they was going to come from a moon base and be in front of the moon, and the ship was going to glow. And the ship was going to glow in front of the moon, kind of giving you a 6-pointed star look with the moon crescent underneath it, right? That was supposed to be the concept of it, right? On Nibiru, you had 400 species broken up into 3 sets of 144,000. You had the Igigi, the Denir, the Riskians, and many mixed species from different star constellations. So pause right there. We used to think all the time back in the day, it's just going to be people who like us. Nah, man, it's a whole galactic family situation up there. It's like Deep Space Nine, and we run it. That's the concept we need to have in our mind. We run it. You know what I'm saying? Officer Frisco is running Deep Space Nine, the Moore, the Nubian, the non-ether, but he's working with different species that hold down the spaceship, So here's some concept in your family. Christians late took the concept of 144,000 and the rapture and used it in their Bible. 18, if we are blocked, we shall continue to try to abduct you until the lunar logging of the 26th point in June, when the Earth positions itself location and revolution of the Earth year 2030. So it's giving you reference, June 26, 2030. They will keep trying to pick us up. That's the concept that he's explaining here. 19, this is what the so-called Christians call the rapture, right? They left the S off that, but 20, this would involve a telepathic message from the Nibiru, which could be dangerous to those children who haven't raised themselves to a certain level, that's that vibration, that frequency family, and would cause a shock to their nervous system. So they could just telepathically say, hey, y'all show up right here, we're gonna dip out. But that signal is so strong that if we hadn't raised our bodies enough, got our bodies right, it could shut us down, it could make us crazy, right? Even kill us, shock your nervous system. Sometimes shocking the nervous system might kill a person, depending on their current health situation. So, they can't do it like that. They could, but it's repercussions. That means we got to get our stuff together and get our vibration raised up, get ourselves cleaned up. 21, many would cut off, causing us to sever our etheric tie, although it may be necessary, maybe a necessary step. So they're letting you know right there, many would be cut off from us, if we did that, if we just, sent the signal out and shook everybody, they wouldn't be, if they weren't ready, they'd be cut off, but it might be a necessary step. 22, know this, my child, in the lunar logging, the 12th point in the month of August, when the planet Earth positions itself in the location of revolution of the Earth in the year 2043. So now it's August 12th, 2043 AD of the Gregorian calendar. This, all right, so let's see what pops off in 2043, August 12th. Let's scroll down, Brother Deb, from 151 to 152. This vortex will reopen, and we must depart with or without you, so be prepared. So that's heavy right there. Let's pause up right there. And all that we know, he kind of just laid out, yo, the alignment is in, you know what I'm saying, it's in 2000, 2003, the vortex gonna open up. You know, if we don't succeed in getting y'all up out of here, we're gonna keep coming to 2030, but then by 2043, you know, they gonna dip out. You know what I'm saying? They gone. And, you know, until the next cycle. Another 3,600 years if so. So 23. Well, first of all, any comments, any concerns, any questions? Dude, we kind of just dipped off from Planets 13X, and the master teacher finger rolled it up into talking about the beer room coming to snatch, you know. So any questions, any concerns, any comments? All right, we keep it going here. We got a few minutes here in the building, actually 11 minutes popping. So what up? Yeah, go ahead, family. Who up?
I will be on. I will be gone. Got wounds.
You hear what he's saying, family? He's like, oh, it's 2003. Then he threw out to 2030. That's 7 years? Actually 6 years and a couple of 10 months or something like that. It's 2030, then at 2043. That's still some time, but who knows, man? He said doing that whole time frame, they're trying to come snatch. So it's like, you know, makes you think, man. Everybody, you know, get themselves together, man. Because, you know, this is the creed for me, family. It ain't no spooky stuff. It ain't no heaven gate type of situation. He was saying this way before anybody was saying this. And now they starting to confirm with all these spaceships showing up. I mean, you see it all the time on YouTube and TikTok, and now even the news now. All these crafts is showing up, all these different looking crafts, these lights, some in broad daylight, some at night. When I seen one on YouTube, man, it was cloudy in Vegas, and they was coming out the club. A dude was bragging, look, man, it's a darn UFO right above the club. He pointed his camera up, and there was a UFO right above the club. I'm like, yo, they just...
That was a couple weeks ago, right?
That was a couple of weeks ago, family.
Yeah.
I'm like, did they just pull up on the club to get a drink? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's a UFO in Vegas, downtown, above the club, with clouds, and you see all the lights and things going on above the clouds. It was transparent. I'm like, oh man, they really getting you know, comfortable with it. They showing up over cities in broad daylight, family, like real talk. So it's kind of giving you.
So a man thinking, so it shall be. I'm out of here. I love you. I care for you, but I'm out of here.
That's another thing he taught us too. I know you remember, like, you know, you love, but don't let that love keep that attachment in the event that your people come to try to pick you up, whether that's through a ship, whether it's a Stargate to open up, whatever it might be. You know, don't get so attached to this reality that when it's time for your real people to come to get you, well, what about such and such? I can't leave such and such. And that's the attachment that we have that we got to deal with being human. We get attached because we love and we care about people. You know what I'm saying? But it's designed that way, family.
No? He also said you can't save anybody until you save yourself. So you can't help nobody unless you've been helped.
That's it. That's what they say on the airplane. Put the mask on yourself before you put it on your child, so you'll be alive to help the child. So, you know, we got to think about self-preservation. Like when they do show up, however they show up, you know what I'm saying? Just be ready. I always was taught, man, when it's time to dip, it's time to dip. I taught my kids this at an early age, man. I said, I love you, but I don't love you more than dipping out. That's just real talk. He's like, oh, dang, Dad. Yeah. I said, you'll feel the same way too. And then as they got older and wiser, and they saw the world, they experienced it, it was like, oh, okay, Dad, we see why. We'll dip out too. I said, yeah, but if you do dip out, hey, man, put in the word for me, man. You know, give me a plug up there. Let me know where I'm at so you can come back and you know, snatch pops up, so to speak. So, you know, we used to joke with it like that, but I made it real for them to not even have an attachment that was so deep to me that it would stifle their chances of being elevated, you know, when the time comes for the people, the elders, our people to come back. So, yeah, good point, family. Very good point, man. got a few minutes left. Trying to see where we left off at. I think it's why not? Vortex will reopen up. We must depart with or without you, so be prepared. 23, my child, listen and overstand. These crafts are coming to pick you up. They're children. Notice how he underlined that. These crafts are coming to pick you up. However, the evil Luciferians in human form, aided by the Kerasidic Canon and their brothers, the Halabian Flugelrods. You know what I'm saying? This is the albinos from us, and this is the albinos from the Hindus. It's two different groups, and they aid these Luciferians. These beings is coming down, right? And organizations. They got organizations, family. We know they got organizations. They got industries. The music industry, the energy, oil and gas industry, the fire, tobacco, arms industry. These people got industries worldwide. So that's what he's talking about. Organizations throughout the world today, and are trying their best through media, right, and mind control to make you, the children of the Anunnaki Elohim, regress back to your state of Homo erectus with the aid of black devils. Man, that's a mouthful, but that's the same thing we being exposed to every day through media, through our love of sports, through our love of music, through our love of whatever they putting out, the way they put it out. You know what I'm saying? And we love it the way they do it to be detrimental. That's why we got to really go back and get into real good music, real natural sounds, real stuff that's pleasing to us, real things that mean something to us. It was a guy I was talking to today. I'm a segue off of this, family. It was a guy I was talking to today about sports. He was an older guy. He was an older mechanic, right? And he said, man, I really don't watch sports like that, man. He said, this thing got so, I said, yeah, this thing got so, he said, people get too passionate about it. People ready to fight over their team. And when he said that, I thought about it. Like, yeah, I done seen some niggas fight over their team, especially the Cowboys, man. Real talk. They take it personal. I'm like, yo. And I started realizing, when I was into it and my team lost on Sunday, I would feel messed up until by Thursday. Because the city feel like your team done lost, your energy go down. And it really affects the whole city and the whole, and I started really peeping that out. I'm like, man, why are we putting our energy in this facade? It don't even matter. They trade them players like slaves to every other team, every other year. It's the same players. So I really started seeing the game, especially when Kaepernick got kicked out. I started seeing that them brothers is being used. Don't get me wrong. I like a good game. If it's a good game, I'm going to watch it. But it's not the hype and the rah-rah to me that it used to be. I think that's one of the distractions, especially with us men, that keeps us so distracted. They push us in that industry. Either music, sports, basketball, entertainment. They push that so hard on us, and most of the time we fall for it because we want to be entertained, but we don't need to be distracted. That's the key about that situation. So just got to bring that reference to you, family. We're going to go down a little bit further. It looks like if you regress back to the state, okay, it said 25. If you regress back to that state, then my children, the elders, have no reason to come for you. For it is Homo sapien that is in our image and after our likeness. 26, let me explain to you how it all began. It all started when we, the Anunnaki, needed to protect the dwindling atmosphere of our home planet Risk. Right? We were the 8th planet of a tri-solar system in the 19th galaxy of Ilium, right? 27, the rays from the 3 suns, Utu, Afu, and Shamash, were depleting our ozone layer, right? 28, keep in reference, family. This is the being that's speaking through the master teacher about the ancient times and what the purpose of these Elohim, these beings when they come here, making man in the first place, making us our children, and then them seeing us as our children, as their children, and then coming back for us, right? That's the link, because they use their genetics to make us. That's why they feel this link to us. We feel that link to them, right? 27, right? Well, 28, the energy level of the radiation was increasing, and it made the hole in the ozone layer bigger every time all 3 suns shone on the planet at the same time, right? So imagine 3 suns versus 1. You got a hole in the ozone layer. Everybody's finna get sick and die, which is what was starting to happen, right? They're doing the same thing down here on Earth, right? It's the same as on Earth. There we go. Where the ozone layer is depleting, allowing more damaging ultraviolet rays to penetrate the atmosphere. 29. However, unlike the planet Risk, without 3 suns, the planet Earth has but one sun. So the depletion level is not occurring as fast, but will happen eventually. Look at the sign of the little boy, El Nino, which is that hurricane. So he's saying that even with the climatic changes, these hurricanes are going to get worse, because I remember El Nino as being very detrimental, right? 30, right? The planet Risk has 3 suns, Utu, Apsu, and Shamesh, that all have damaging ultraviolet rays and has much faster rotation than that of this planet. So the depletion of the ozone layer occurred at a faster rate. We needed to build a protection, a dome of gold dust particles suspended in the atmosphere to protect the planet from the damaging ultraviolet rays. Pause right there. That's it. That's the whole purpose of why they came here, family. All this history we've been given about the Anunnaki, these supreme beings, et cetera, et cetera. This is the reason why they came here. They needed some gold to put in their atmosphere to protect their planet and keep it from dying so they can live on it, right? So they set out with this gold expedition all over the place, and they found something here, and they started doing their thing here, and they made us to help them do it, right? It's a long narrative, but a short story concept, right? 32, the gold was needed because it shields the sun's rays. It is used to reflect the sun's heat. Gold is very special. It is high polished metal with a high polished finish. It can be made thinner than any metal. It can be stretched thinner than paper and stretched for miles. This is why they use it. Gold can be vaporized better than any other metal, and it doesn't tarnish, right? Gold can also hold under any condition, right? So they always say, gold is forever, gold is priceless, right? Some of the value that we put on gold is because they came to mine it, because it was a tool for them. It was one of the metals that allowed them to do certain things. Like saving the atmosphere was one of them. So this is the whole thing about us being, put in a situation where we value gold. It's because of what gold can do, its flexibility, its durability, the scientific uses of gold. Not that it's just pretty, but because its durability and all these resources we can get from gold, stabilizing electricity, spark plugs, you name it, family. Y'all seen it. Y'all know what this tech is with this gold situation. It's the best conductor of electricity. So when you look at it like that, man, they really came for a scientific purpose, right? These Elohim, these Anunnaki, right? Any questions, any concerns, any comments, family? We're gonna get Brother Neb to close us out with the affirmation.
Abdul Kul Bazum Taflatat Badana Bedmahu Hadus Aishu Figunakalu, Anuki Fian Aishu Shukalu, Kul Aishukalu, Nata Kunafikalu, Anuki Ferragun Shukalu, Wakalu Kalu Ferragun Shuni, Anuki Wahid Kakalu, Wakalu Kalu Wahid Mani, Nuk Aikilu, and you, Kama Ferragun Shukalu, Hukama Feidu, Nuk Aikilu, Ahuenu Kudik, Nuka Fidi Fikalu, Kama Tawukama Kafazi Kaluni, Amidu Fikalu, Anuki Kabaha Wahud. Kalu Nanuki, Kalu Yaku Nukankilu, Kalu Bamu Nukami. Begin all prayers, thinks, and deeds with who divine love and all. I am in the love of all love is me. We are all in all. I am a part of all, and all is a part of me. I am one with all, and all is one with me. I could succeed as a part of all and fail as an individual. I can be all I wish in all, as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is I am. All can I can. All does I do.